The SAICA Biz Impact Podcast is proudly brought to you by SAICA, committed to growing impactful businesses in collaboration with our SAICA accredited practitioners. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and visit our website for more valuable resources.
Welcome to another episode of the SAICA Biz Impact Podcast Show. I am your host, Lornelle Jonas. And yes, today we've got a phenomenal guest that I hope will actually impact your business and your colleagues and people that are actually in their corporate careers as well, where they're actually going to get some good inspiration about starting their own businesses. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about a platform that has taken South African business landscape very, very, very hard. And that is Xero. Everyone who is using now an accounting system will actually talk about Xero. And to help us unpack that in terms of who is Xero, what do they do, what the platform is about, we have a lady called by Lornelle Jonas, who is actually going to be representing Xero in terms of the benefits that they're offering. Lornelle, hi, welcome on board.
Hi, Lou. Thank you for having me.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you sort of like a short bio in terms of who is Lornelle before we get into the podcast. Lornelle is the founder and the managing director of Elite Advisory, a professional services firm that is based in Johannesburg that specializes in accounting, in internal audit, in tax and advisory services. Lornelle Jonas is the 40 Under 40 award winner. She has also over 12 years experience in the internal auditing space, in the external auditing space, financial reporting, corporate governance, and all of that. She's been involved in a number of industries, including the likes of PwC, Liberty Group, First Rand Bank Limited. And her purpose through Elite Advisory is to create access to financial services for SMEs, and also to enhance organizational sustainability through financial education. We'll talk more about that as well. And to reduce the costs that are enabled by the technology and innovation. And in addition to that, she actually won the Emerging Firm of the Year on Xero Awards this year. All right.
Yes.
Well done on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And also, she's also a platinum partner
with Xero. Yes.
With Xero.
Yes, the only female firm in South Africa that's a platinum partner.
Shout out to that. Shout out to that. Shout out to that. All right. Lornelle, let's talk about your relationship.
Yeah.
With Xero.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know how that partnership came about. Can you take us through in relation to that?
Okay. Thank you for having me, Lou. I'm excited to be talking about all things Xero.
Yeah, man.
So my journey with Xero actually started with Elite, right? Okay. And you won't believe it started in the heart of COVID, just when the president said we're shutting doors, nobody's doing any business, you know, we're staying indoors.
Yes.
So in July of 2020, I became a Xero partner, right?
Okay.
And maybe if I even think about just talking about Xero in that aspect, how I actually came to know about Xero was I've always been very passionate about technology, about how it can enable us to be more efficient and to provide better quality services, right? Yeah. So those were like in the early days of when I was starting Elite. I was sitting at my dining room table, servicing clients, and I was the only employee at that point in time. Sure. And I was trying to find a way to efficiently onboard my clients, right? And I came across an application called Ignition. Back then it was called Practice Ignition. It's now called Ignition. Okay. And Ignition, then the guys at Ignition asked me, okay, what accounting software are you using? I was like, I'm still looking for something. I'm here on Excel because clients don't want to move, right?
Yes.
And then essentially that's where the relationship started with Xero. Okay. So I became a Xero partner in July of 2020. And then in August of 2022, we became a Xero Platinum Partner. And the only female and the only black firm at the moment,
What does it mean to become the Platinum Partner?
So
in a nutshell, because I know that there are levels in this thing.
There are levels
right?
to this game, you know?
Right. So now to become a Platinum Partner, what are we talking about? What does that mean?
So we're talking about the number of clients that you service, the number of subscriptions. It talks about the expertise that you have, you know, as an accounting firm, as a practice. Okay. So Platinum Partner is not just about necessarily the number of subscriptions or number of clients that you're servicing, but it's really about your presence in the market. Are you being an industry leader? Are you being a thought leader? Are you leading conversations about, you know, about running digital practices and how to effectively run that? Okay. And I think, I mean, from some of the stuff that we're doing, we run a number of masterclasses for SMEs, and we've got relationships, you know, with stakeholders that are sponsoring these masterclasses because they share the same sentiment in terms of wanting to impact SMEs. So being a Platinum Partner is not necessarily just about the clients that you hold, but it's about how do you represent the brand with Xero, how you engaging, are you being a good ambassador in terms of like the use of the product? Are you encouraging other accountants, whether it's SMEs and accountants, to actually use the product more effectively? So that's what it essentially means to be a Platinum Partner. We know there's different stages to it. There's obviously, I think it's bronze, silver, gold, and then platinum.
Okay. One day I wish to become a platinum.
Don't worry. We'll take notes.
We'll get in there, right? Talking about being a good ambassador for the brand, Xero. I attended their conference, a few months ago, right? I know that they had a conference in Cape Town. Then I think they came to Johannesburg as well. And it was a full house, right? True, Now, that says a lot about the uptake of the brand by the accounting firms and the SMEs that are out there. So take us through in terms of this uptake that is really penetrating the landscape of South Africa. What makes Xero to be so unique and different from any other platforms that are out there?
Okay, so I always say that we are accountants, right?
Yes.
Xero is made not for us. Xero is made for the end user. It's made for the person who is sitting there running a business, whether you are baking cakes, whether you are taking photos as a photographer, whether you're a videographer, whether you're a professional services firm. It's made, the software is made for the end user to be able to use, right? And then where the accountant comes in, it's basically to be an advisor. It's like a partnership. So it's not a software solely purposed for accountants. It's literally a software that you can use, for example, not just necessarily just to run your accounting, processes and your invoicing and your quoting, but it's really about, for example, let's say, I'll make an example. I have a client who is a photographer. And literally, he's automated his entire workflow. So from the time you want to book his services, there's an application that he uses. He schedules you go to his website, you book the, let's say, the photo shoot. The invoice gets generated, it pushes into Xero. You then get, as a client, you get a notification. Here's your invoice. Here's the link to pay. You pay it. That information goes back into Xero that now you've paid it. And then basically you then show up for your photo shoot. So it really helps you from a holistic perspective to say, what is the ecosystem that Xero has effectively built around the application to allow business owners to utilize it effectively? So it's not just about the debits and credits, as I say.
Sure. So in terms of the value and the support that you have received from Xero, can you take us through? Because the number of, as you have said, accountants that are going to be listening to you, that, okay, I would love to become,
Xero Partner.
Yes. Also, even SMEs as well that are actually going to be listening. They can be like, okay, I keep hearing about this brand. But what is the value and the support that you have received fully from Xero with running your own business?
I mean, Xero is really, really, really passionate about small business, but they're also very passionate about accountants, and they're very passionate about tech and like how it can help us be more efficient and about being real ambassadors for running cloud practices. Because we know a lot of people are still stuck in desktop software. I'm just talking about the accountants at the moment.
I get you. I get you.
And it's really about saying, because you know what happens sometimes, Lou, is that there's this also mismatch, right? Where you have the client that's ready to embrace the technology, but the accountant is not. The accountant is still there on a desktop, right? And the thing is, the client is like, but I want to go where the technology is going. So it's also about saying, I think having these types of conversations opens up a conversation between an accountant, right?
Yes.
And their client as well. Because the client can then sometimes go to the accountant and be like, but why are you not using the software, right?
Correct.
So it's about saying we're all moving to a point where, Xero just launched a new feature called Jax, right? Just Ask Xero.
Yes.
Where you literally, it's an AI thing where you literally like, Jax, please create an invoice for me.
Yes.
So it's literally like people are moving, technology is moving way ahead in terms of how it's moving faster than what we, as I would say, accountants in the industry are like actually also moving at the same pace. We're not there yet. And I think what Xero does really well for me in terms of how they supported eLeak, right, is that we're a practice that's born in the cloud.
Sure.
And they have really just championed that to be like, we celebrate you, Lornelle. You're hosting masterclasses. They'll come and attend. They'll come and create that awareness because they understand that it's about creating a greater awareness, and it's not just about necessarily, you just using a software. It's about saying, you don't have to sit at month end and stress, There's a work-life balance element that can come with using cloud accounting software. I always tell people we don't have a printer at our office. We don't even have shelves to file anything, right? Because that is really what it means to run a practice in the cloud. And then when it comes to the small business owner, like really Xero is really passionate about having conversations with various stakeholders. I'm a member of XPAC. And when we sit on XPAC, Xero then starts having conversations with us to say, what are some of the frustrations and the pain points, right, that you find end users are experiencing? What are some of the pain points that you guys are experiencing, in terms of running your practice? And they really take that feedback and they go back and they go and improve on ways in which they can help us run better practices and also how we can better benefit, the end user. So they really, really, really are passionate about, and they put, as they say, what do they say? Money behind.
You basically back the horse, basically.
They back it 100%. Like they really do that.
Perfect. So you spoke. I'm going to piggyback on one point that you mentioned, that you're also the member of XPAC.
Yeah.
I've attended some of these events. All right. You'll see Xero with their T-shirts and all of that. Then you'll see people with their XPAC tags and all of that. Who are those people? Okay. How do you become the XPAC member? And what does XPAC do, by the way? Okay,
so, XPAC is literally, Xero opens it up, right? But it's basically a cloud of practices, right? That sit, it's from various sizes and backgrounds, right? But essentially, the Xero Partner Advisory Council is there to kind of be like, it's almost like a cloud council, if you can call it such, where we talk about, the advances in tech, where we discuss how we can better service, SMEs, really talk about industry level matters. We also talk about, in terms of the software, what are some of the things that they can improve on the software. So we get involved. Sometimes in the sessions, we talk about like technical things from that aspect. But what Xero does is, I think every year they open it up for, firms to apply. And it's really about firms that are really cloud positive. You can't still, it's not just a position that you fill. It's not just like you're taking a seat on a board. It's really about what value do you bring? Are you being very vocal and active, in the industry in terms of, not just necessarily Xero itself, but like running a cloud practice, having digital transformation conversations. Because some of the partners, for example, they are, they do app integrations. So like having an app stack. And it's not just about Xero, but helping clients digitize other parts of their business and their operations, right? And how that influences, obviously, the relationship with Xero.
Let's talk about some of the most, I think you being part of XPAC, of course, you would have shared the challenges, as you have said, that SMEs are facing, or the accounting firms that are facing. Then Xero will basically create a solution in relation to that. What are some of the most outstanding features that are on Xero, but SMEs are not using them, or the accounting firms that are not using them? In a youth lingo, they would say people are sleeping on this app. People are sleeping on this app. There's something outstanding about this feature. Make sure you use this. What are some of the outstanding features that Xero has that you can share with the audience?
Okay, so I think some of the things I've come across in practice, right, is maybe a client will use Xero just basically for invoicing. right?
Sure,
And you're
sure.
like, but there's so much more to this app, right?
Yeah, there's more.
They just invoice and they quote.
Yeah, there's analytics and all of these things
Right.
that happen. Yeah.
And the thing is, right, there's amazing things, for example, like I always talk about HubDoc because I
Yes.
think it's an amazing feature that most clients don't think about. They
What
literally
is
just,
HubDoc? Yeah.
so HubDoc is essentially a document repository. So what it does is it's integrated with the Xero accounting platform. And what it does is it basically, let's say, for example, you and I are sitting here, we maybe just bought a coffee.
Yeah.
So it's an application. You can take a picture of the slip, it uploads it, it stores it. It will automatically read the data from that source document to say, okay, we now had coffee at SAICA,
Yes.
Biz podcast, right?
Yes, yes.
The date, the amount, and then it's just literally for you to go and allocate it. So what that helps with,
Okay.
you know, a lot of clients come and they come to you, can you please do my books? And then they come with a box and slips. And then you're like, what am I supposed to do with this?
We're no longer in 1994. We're in 2024 now. So, yeah, we have to digitize these things.
Yeah. So I think just in terms of that one, I mean, most clients, when you come to them and you just tell them about that, they just like, oh, that's such a relief. You know, now I can just take a picture and know, okay, my accountant has it. Because even from an accounting perspective, accountants always struggle to get information from the clients. You know,
that's
sometimes
a big problem.
that's a big, I know.
Challenge.
Okay, I'll have a moment of silence for you to just take that in. You know, that's a big struggle, right? So I think HubDoc is one that they don't use. I also just think some of the reporting features, things like pulling certain reports, you know, even just the dashboard, if I look at it, the way Xero sets up their dashboard, there's like something simple called cash in, cash out. It's not telling you bank balance. It's very easy.
Simple.
So that you understand this is what money has come in. This is money that has gone out. What invoices are due to you. And you know, I think the most powerful thing about using a software like Xero is just being able to have access to your information, you know.
Correct.
I had a conversation yesterday with a client. She's been running a business for 6 years. She's like, Lornelle, I don't even know how the portion of the sales that I make, how much of it is cash and how much of it is paid into the bank account. So you see, the thing is, I think when people have information and it's sitting, if you log into the system every day or if you log onto your phone and you see, this is my target for the month, this is where I actually am. It helps you to drive, you know, different actions. Oh, I've got a target to meet. But if you're just sitting there, the information is not where you can see it. You're not tracking it. It makes it very difficult for you. Very difficult for you.
So in terms of, you know, you mentioned the challenge that, you know, accounting firms will have in terms of getting information from the clients. First month, of course, they will do that. Second, third month, sometimes they forget. You spoke about HubDoc. It's so easier. Picture on your phone, done, dusted. No need to be emailing each other. But how do you deal with SMEs that don't trust the tech that is out there? For instance, let me make an example, like bank feeds. You want to automate their banking to be able to report to Xero. They will still say, no, I don't trust. I've been hacked before, so I don't want anything that is going to be coming into my bank account. So you're forced now to be doing books where you have to wait month end to get the bank statement. And how do you go around with clients that are very difficult to adapt into tech?
I'm going to say something very controversial.
Go ahead.
Let me just say that as a disclaimer.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, Lou, I think what I found is, right, you'll see, for example, if I look at us as a firm and how we've chosen to position ourselves, right?
Correct,
We position ourselves as a Xero partner. We've chosen, we've done the homework.
Yes.
We've decided Xero works for us, right? So the question that you're asking is actually good, because I think I've had to go through that process myself to say, okay, for accountants, it's an important reflection point to say, what type of client do I actually want to have in my practice, right? Do I want a client that's going to make my life very difficult? Or do I want a client that actually wants to work with me to help them, right? I think that's the important part, because sometimes we sit with clients that cause us a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. And then you sit there and you're like, I want to add value to this client, but they're just not budging, right?
Correct.
The second thing is, I think a lot of us are not taking the time to educate our clients about the technology. Sometimes we're like, no, there's a new app. Xero, it's great. I promise you, there's a bank feed. Then obviously, if you think about it, the client will be nervous. So one thing I do is I sit and I take the time. My team sits and they take the time. Yeah. We make the time to take the client through the whole thing from start to end. Any questions they have, we allow them to come back and have follow-up questions because we want them to understand how this thing adds value to them and that it's not a software that we want to use. It's a very important thing. Sure. We need to, one, educate them. Yeah. Tell them it's a software that they can use. Yep. And you use the software to partner with your accountant. Yeah. And then as accountants, if clients are making your life difficult, maybe reconsider the relationship. If it's working for you or not.
I like that. No, but at the end of the day, it's all about saying, are we able to add value? If people want accountants to add value, all right, they'll meet you halfway in relation to that part. If they make it hard, then at the end of the day, you'll appear as if you're not adding value.
Exactly.
But let's talk about your story. I'm fascinated about your story in terms of how during COVID, while everyone is depressed, everyone is going through their emotions and all of that, then you decide to say, you know what, we'll go for this, right? And you've grown from that, right? Xero has actually awarded you, as I said, the Mentoring Firm of the Year. So you've done extremely well. So what are some of the factors that have contributed to that journey that has led you to be where you are today in terms of some of the successes you've had?
You know, Lou, you're taking me back. As you were saying that, I'm seeing myself sitting at my dining room table during COVID. You know, and I think that's what makes it very different and why I speak so passionately about Xero is because I understand the software. Like, it was just me, myself, and and I started. And I mean, let's just talk about the support that Xero gives you as an accounting practice, right? Sure. So when you become a Xero partner, as part of the Xero Partner program, you actually get given an account manager, right?
Yes.
And I've got an amazing account manager. His name is Junaid Steele. Okay. Junaid.
Hello. Sure.
And I think Junaid has really just been such a big cheerleader for me, right? So when I come to him with ideas, he'll just be like, you never stop coming up with ideas, but he champions me in how I run my practice. Yeah. If I have an idea and I say, I'm really thinking about doing this, I'm really thinking about having these types of conversations. Yeah. Like he's been a really, really great support in terms of the growth of the firm and in terms of strategies, in terms of helping me. If I come up with an idea, he can help me say, okay, this is how I think you should position it. And this is how I perhaps think we can partner with Xero to help you, you know. And I think one of the things I can say in terms of my journey is that I was always very passionate about running a cloud practice. Right? Okay. And about creating a practice that was different and a practice that wanted to add value. Because one of the things that I saw really in my engagements with businesses is that if you think about it, during COVID, it was tough. Yeah. One of the biggest stumbling blocks for businesses at that point in time, remember they made all of these funds available, but most of people couldn't access them.
Correct. Yeah.
And if you think about it, something simple like not having books, not having your books together, right? Yeah. So it's really, I really came to that point where clients were now ready. I think COVID pushed people to be ready, even though we didn't want to be ready. Yeah. But then I also noticed there was a gap, right? In the sense that clients are coming to you, but they don't understand what is a provisional tax return, right? Sure. So then that's where I would say also my masterclasses were born from that to say, I started with something simple during COVID by doing Facebook Lives called Tax Tuesdays, where I would literally just educate small business owners on this is what an income tax return looks like. This is the purpose of it. Yes, you are the director of this business, you're the company, but for example, this is a representative. Yes. This is what it means. Yes, you can give someone else your books to do and stuff like that, but ultimately you're the one that's responsible. So I think business owners felt really empowered that we took the time to actually pour into them, and it actually made them better clients in the long run. Because the clients felt like they can take ownership, they knew what they were doing, they didn't feel like they were in the dark. Because most of the people that are coming to you are not accountants, they didn't study finance, and they just want to know that they are kept in the loop and that they can trust you. And Xero then also creates that transparency. So you can log in, I can log in. If you're telling me you submitted this thing, I can go in and see you actually were in here 5 months ago. You were not actually in here yesterday. So that's also the other benefit, you know. Sometimes people come to you, they're like, I didn't know, I wasn't aware. And you're just like, but there's accountability and transparency on both sides. So I think in terms of my journey, right, I think also just being very resilient. It hasn't been easy. growing our firm. I told you earlier, our biggest challenge has been hiring the right talent. Well, I mean, we're always looking to attract, the right talent. But I've also found that it's a problem that's universal across businesses. But I think it's been very rewarding. I think I've grown a lot. The growth that I've experienced in the last 3 years, I would say, to be honest, have gotten it in corporate. It's amazing how you can have an idea and 3 years later you can see it like being a whole baby. That's like being born.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Man. How many people have you employed in your business?
Why do you like asking this question?
No, because at the end of the day, that's an impact. That's job creation at the end of
about
the
8
day.
people. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's job creation. And that says a lot because those people one day will go and start their firms as well one day. All right. It becomes, this ecosystem that feeds from each other. Right.
Lou, can I just comment on that one quickly now?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something that I reflected on recently.
Okay.
When I started my firm, I was like, I'm going to employ people. I'm going to create a good environment, right? And then, even though I had hired people and we were 8 at that point in time, you then realize it's not a good culture fit. Or this doesn't work, or you don't have this process, right? And then you actually realize there's certain things that's really, really like you have to focus on the quality.
Yes.
And not the quantity.
Yes.
And I think that's one lesson I would say I've learned a lot in the sense that we obviously had to make adjustments as a team. And then go back to the drawing board and say, what did we do right and what did we not do right? Correct. So I think when you're starting your business and you're hiring, quality over quantity.
And be intentional. You said something about the culture as well. Culture, because one bad apple can have a huge impact on the other apples. All right. So in terms of the tips, I want you to share as well some of the tips to the accounting firms that are out there, some of the tips as well to the SMEs.
Yeah.
And especially, I think when you touch also to the accountants, I want you to also touch about the price point within Xero. I know there's a discussion around that. Okay. And again, goes back to understanding the product. One of the things that I learned from you said you had to understand the product. That's why it made you to be this, pioneer in the cloud technology, because you had to understand. Now people will look at a product, they see the price, they just run away without understanding some of the price points that are within.
100%.
All right. Right. So what are some of your top tips that would share with people that want to start their own firms or with the SMEs as well and the current accountants?
Sure. Big ask.
Right. Okay, go for it.
Let me try and summarize it.
Sure.
Okay. So I would say for people that want to start their own cloud practices, right? Don't do it alone. If you've got current clients that you're servicing on Excel,
okay.
I know that's usually how people start with 2 or 3 clients.
Correct.
Reach out to Xero, join the Xero Partner Program. There's an amazing team of people that are ready to support you and help you on your journey as you build a cloud practice.
Nice.
One of the things I really love about Xero is that they've got partner consultants. I don't know if you know about that.
Sure.
The partner consultant I've been working with for the last couple of years is Ryan Pedro. Amazing. Okay. So you can always reach out to them and ask them questions about the software. Ask them, for example, if you have a question about a client or a new client that you're onboarding, you're not exactly sure about what are the best, applications within the Xero ecosystem that are perhaps, for example, let's say a manufacturing client or a client that has inventory.
Yeah.
And they are there to help you. So they are there literally to partner with you. So I'm saying if you're new, looking to start a new practice, reach out to Xero, join the Xero Partner Program.
It's a community.
It really is a community, and they really position it as such, and they've got enough support for you. So you can't really say, if you're failing, it means that you're not utilizing the resources that they've put at your disposal.
Sure.
For our current accountants, I would say, don't look at the software as an accounting software. Okay. Look at it as a place where you can enable your clients to use it. I think most of the time we're still stuck in the process of we are the accountants. We're supposed to give our clients a set of numbers, and that's really not what it's about. It's really about saying, how do I become a partner How do I become an advisor to my client? And stop letting clients send you invoices to create. Like, let them do the invoices themselves.
I like that. It's 2 seconds. Picture, load, done.
You understand?
Right, yeah.
Like, empower them.
Yeah.
Make it part of, because if you think about it, if a client, I'm just making an example, a client who travels a lot, and they at restaurants and they're coming back to you with a bag of slips and they give it to you. Also think about the effect that it has and the impact that it has on your staff. How many of our staff members cringe? They're like, I don't want to do this. It's not nice work. And it's literally like, if you think about it, if you had enabled and empowered your client to be able to take that picture, the accountant or the person who's the bookkeeper would have just recorded it, right? So utilize Xero for its, like, in its fullness, and not just necessarily just based off it's an accounting software. It's what's trending, right? Let's not go after softwares that are just because they're trending. Let's actually have a proper understanding. And then also let's make sure that when we are using the software that we have a full understanding, so that we don't, make mistakes on the software, because we can have a software but also use it incorrectly.
And post journals left, right,
and post journals in bank accounts, you know? So, but what I would really say is another wonderful feature that Xero has is called Xero Practice Manager. I don't know if you've... XPM, Yes, XPM as we call it. So that is a practice management tool that's also free. I think up to 10 users that you add onto it. So there's really a lot of things that can help you kind of run a successful digital practice. And just make a decision. You know, a lot of people, can I tell you, a lot of the people say, Lornelle, I have an existing client book. They're on desktop. We charge them X, right? If I have to move them to Xero, they're always nervous about the cost in terms of the subscriptions, right? But it's really about saying, at this point in time, we now have to start having pricing conversations. Are you really pricing your time and the value that you're offering to this client effectively, right? Because then it means now implementing the software means that you now have to have a whole thinking about your strategy, thinking about your pricing point, and also then doing the change management. And I mean, there's an amazing team at Xero that can help you walk that journey if you are looking at making that migration. So I would say, don't be afraid of change as well.
2024, by the way.
They don't know, So they mustn't be sleeping on the apps.
Exactly. I like that. All right. Lornelle, thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's
Lou.
been good. You've shared very good nuggets that I hope the SMEs as well will take and treat their accountants going forward to say, I did hear Lornelle say, I shouldn't be giving you invoices anymore. I should be loading these things via the phone, all right? Why am I still giving you invoices, stuff like that, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, it's been good. Lornelle shared very important, nuggets that I feel, you should apply in your business. But more than anything else, my takeaway is that understand the product. Before you start any business, right? Understand your product in terms of what are you offering out there to the market. Once you understand that, it becomes easier to implement, and customers will come the moment you do your product so well, or you sell your product so well. That's what she's done. I mean, you've done with your masterclass, you've done with your community that you've built around Xero. So from that particular point, please share this podcast to all the people that are running their own businesses. We hope that they're going to learn one or two things, and just make sure that you stick in and you listen to the podcast on some of the episodes that we'll be having in future with different aspects. Please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast as well. We are on LinkedIn, we are on SAICA website, we are on YouTube, we are on Spotify. So make sure that you follow SAICA as well on X, and then we'll take it from there. See you on the next one.
The SAICA Biz Impact Podcast is proudly brought to you by SAICA, committed to growing impactful businesses in collaboration with our SAICA accredited practitioners. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and visit our website for more valuable resources.